Welcome to this episode of the Sports Detective Podcast Show. My name is James Williams, and today, put on a shirt, young man. What are we talking about? So last week, Hall of Famer Isiah Thomas was on NBA TV doing some pregame coverage of the Lakers playing I believe that was the night that they played the Rockets. And they started showing clips of LeBron James warming up at shoot-around shirtless. And Isiah Thomas proceeded to use a minute of airtime to bash LeBron James for being unprofessional, warming up shirtless, whereas the professionalism gone in this league, and then proceeds to say that Adam Silver should fine LeBron James for this type of unprofessional behavior. I can't believe we're talking about this, guys. I can't believe we've gotten to a new dumbest take from a former NBA player talking about guys today. Let's just go ahead and watch this clip here of Isiah Thomas, going off on LeBron James for warming up shirtless. By the way, I don't know how the copyright rules will work with this, but part of this might get trimmed off because it does start showing game footage. So we'll just go ahead and watch it. And if it kind of cuts off short, that's just why.
Second part of our doubleheader tonight, LeBron James going to play the game like this. Shirts and skins is what they're doing tonight.
I just totally 100% object to this. And if I was the GM or coach, I would never let one of my players walk out on the floor looking like this. I mean, we are a professional NBA league. We ain't summer league. We ain't at the YMCA.
Listen, I think coaches got to go back to suits.
Absolutely.
I just mean.
Absolutely. I just think
College and pro.
I just think the professionalism in our NBA league has diminished so much. And I look, I like LeBron. I'm a fan of his, so forth and so on. But to walk out on the floor before a game with no shirt on and shoot, I mean, come on, man. Where we at? What we doing? Where we at? Now, if you want to, Adam Silver, if you want to find somebody, find that. Put a fine on that.
Spoken by the Hall of Famer and the greatest player in Pistons history, Isiah.
Yeah, so I don't know there if that got cut off with the him saying fine, Adam Silver should fine him, because that's when they started showing actual basketball. So if it does, that's what he ended up saying after that. But guys, what are we going to do with these former players? What are we going to do with them when they are giving current guys today this type of criticism? This is the kind of thing that LeBron was talking about. Now, when it comes to criticizing players in the NBA today, I do think there is a lot of BS criticisms that we have, but that doesn't mean that every single criticism that we have of guys in the NBA today, or former players have of players in the NBA today, is 100% BS. In fact, I actually think sometimes the criticism of the guys, like the guys on TNT, can actually be kind of helpful. If you guys, I don't know if you guys remember this, but for a while there, Barkley and Shaq were like huge, Joel Embiid critics, and they would bash him on TNT over and over and over again. And you know what? They were right with their criticism. Even Joel Embiid one time, I can't remember when it happened, if it was pre-COVID or post-COVID, was being interviewed by the TNT guys afterwards, and he kind of like thanked Charles and Shaq for the harsh criticism they had of him, because he's like, hey, I know you guys just want what's best for me, and all of that stuff is valid, and you guys are making me work harder, and it's kind of something on the lines of that. So I actually think some of this criticism can actually be good and actually help these young players. And bringing this back to LeBron, the thing that's so frustrating about this Isiah Thomas clip that I just showed you guys is you can actually have valid criticisms of LeBron James. You can actually, have legit criticisms of him. That's not impossible. You can criticize him over the course of his career for at times putting, specifically Cleveland kind of in a hostage situation where it's like, hey, I might be leaving this summer. And, even if you go back to the first stint around in Cleveland, Cleveland keeps making desperate trades to try and help LeBron James, to try and help them become the best title contending team that they can be. They obviously did a terrible job of that. You can get frustrated LeBron James for passive aggressive messages that he sends to either the front office or to his teammates through social media or the media itself. Like, there's actually legit criticism that you can have of LeBron James. But if you're going to come and you're going to, and also too, with that being said, legit criticisms that you can have on the stars of this league right now as a whole. But if you're going to criticize them, you have to come correct. You guys just can't be saying nonsense. You guys just can't be saying nonsense. It's the same thing that like Shaq said last week, where Shaq was like, all the players today, they don't actually care about playing basketball. All they care about is making money. That's all they care about. It's like, Shaq, dude, you only cared about making money. That's why you moved to LA. That's why you did like a bunch of movies in the 90s. You wanted money. You showed up like multiple times out of shape and fat to seasons. Like, you're not the one to be sending this message, buddy. But the thing that's so frustrating is that sometimes these guys, like we said in Embiid, they can actually have legit good constructive criticism that is the intention is to motivate these guys. But if you just keep throwing out a bunch of BS criticism all the time, sometimes these guys are just going to either tune you out, or the legit criticism is just going to be lost in all of the bullshit. Like we got to be better, man. We got to be better. And but I want to get this point across too, because I don't know the next time I'll be able to be talking about the different eras, criticizing different eras and stuff like that. And I know we've talked about this before, but I'm sure we'll probably we've had a lot of new listeners start tuning in here since the last time I talked about this. But the whole guys being defensive of their era, of the era that they played in, is not a unique thing. It has been a thing that has been happening for whatever reason. It's mostly in the NBA. Like, when I go back and I read stuff about the NFL and how they compare different eras back then, it's just a completely different vibe with the NBA. Like, all the NBA guys are so protective of their era. And I mean, even going back and reading about the guys in like the 70s and the 60s or even the 50s, I'm reading a Wilt Chamberlain biography right now. And there's a part in that biography where when Wilt got to college, they changed like 10 different rules in the in college basketball. Like, they made the lanes wider, they made it where you can't dunk free throws, they changed the goaltending rules. And there's like a quote from Wilt talking about Michael Jordan and comparing himself to Michael Jordan. He's like, how many rules did they change for Michael Jordan? I think that basically his vibe was like, I think that tells you who was the more impactful player, who was the better player. The fact that they had to change all of these different rules just so I wouldn't dominate less, even though they changed the rules and I still dominated, was kind of Wilt's point. But obviously you kind of think about that a little bit more deeply and you're like, yeah, the basketball wasn't that old of a sport when they started changing these rules. They also at that time didn't have that many black people playing the sport. So maybe those are more reasons why they changed the rules, rather than, I mean, it's obviously because you were so good and so dominant, but also it's maybe just the time period, not necessarily you, even though Wilt is obviously a top 10 all-time great player, legend of the game. He's passed away 20 years ago, hasn't played basketball in 50 years, and we're still talking about him. So that's just kind of the point I wanted to get across, is that over and over again, these guys from previous generations, so it's even like these guys that play the 80s, 90s, even the 2000s, they're bashing the guys today. It's like they were getting bashed in their time. I also remember, too, we read a book. I've told the story a few times on this show before, reading the book Loose Balls, which is a oral history of the ABA, which is the alternate league to the NBA in the 70s. And in that league, that's when we actually saw real prime Dr. J. And there was people in that book that were talking about Dr. J and comparing him to Michael Jordan. And they're like, Michael Jordan's great and stuff, though, but like, Dr. J was doing all this stuff 20 years ago. This Michael Jordan guy doesn't impress me that much. That was basically the gist of what a bunch of these guys were saying, because that book was obviously written in the 90s. But that's my point. We just it's just a thing in basketball where the old generation just bashes the new generation. And I also think there's just a thing in human nature where we seem to do that. Growing up all throughout high school, it was like, oh my God, the millennials are ruining the earth. The millennials suck. The millennials are ruining the earth, blah, 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 blah. Now it's the same thing now with Gen Z. I know that was the thing that people are saying about Gen X. The baby boomers are obviously being talked about that way when they were coming of age too. So I guess it's just a weird thing that we do in human nature. And that's just kind of like a mission that I think we should all try to, as we engage in basketball discord, let's be better. Let's be better than that. Let's uplift the next generation. Let's help them. Let's be more positive. Give them constructive criticism, but let's not do dumb criticism like this and call out somebody for not wearing a shirt. Shouldn't we be impressed by LeBron James, the fact that it's year 22 and he's still showing up 5 hours before the game to get up shots, to get loose, to play his best, to be a second-team All-NBA player this year? to probably get some MVP votes this year? Should we be praising him for that? Instead, we're not wearing a shirt, bro. By the way, just because I'll mention this, the reason I didn't make this like my main argument in this video is also going a lot longer than I thought it should, by the way. You guys can go ahead and look up some stuff of Isiah Thomas's conduct at workplaces in the past. You can go back and talk about unprofessionalism, the fact that he walks off the court when they lose to the Bulls in what was that, 91. There's a video that was circling after Isiah said this, that it kept showing a video of him kind of like doing like a choke on his coach, which only lasted like a few seconds, but it's a thing that I did not know ever happened with Isiah, but people were calling him out for that. Hey man, if you didn't do those same things as you were a player, if you weren't always the most professional person, don't call out somebody else for doing that. No wonder you weren't invited to the dream team. All right, that's going to do it for this video here today. If you like this video, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Subscribing is the number one thing you can do to help support this show. Also, liking, commenting, watching other videos on this channel. If you do all of that stuff, I'll love you forever. So thank you very much for watching, and we'll talk to you next time.